Welcome back to the CMF Conspiracies podcast. You know we love a good mystery, and you've sent us a doozy this time. Project Serpo. So for anyone who's unfamiliar, it's this alleged top-secret exchange program where the U.S. government sends 12 military personnel to an alien planet, and you guys have given us so much to dig through. YouTube documentaries, forum discussions, alleged diary entries, I mean the whole 9 yards. We're talking spaceships, right? A planet called Serpo in the Zeta Reticuli system, 40 light years away. A species called the Ebans. So buckle up because we're going on a deep dive to see what we can uncover about Project Serpo, separating fact from fiction, or at least trying to.
What I find so intriguing about this one, this particular conspiracy theory, is how it weaves together these elements of real science and Cold War paranoia with these almost fantastical claims. You know, it emerged during a time of heightened anxiety about space travel, nuclear threats, and just the unknown. And Project Serpo really taps into those fears and fascinations, creating a story that's both believable and utterly outlandish at the same time.
Okay, so let's start with the alleged Roswell connection. This is where it all began.
Right.
In 1947, a supposed alien spacecraft crashes in Roswell, New Mexico. The government recovers the wreckage, and according to Project Serpo, finds not just debris, but a survivor, EBE-1, an extraterrestrial biological entity.
It's really important to understand the historical context here. I mean, this was the dawn of the Cold War, a time of intense secrecy and technological competition between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. The public was already kind of on edge about UFO sightings and the possibility of advanced technologies falling into the wrong hands. So the idea
of the U.S. government recovering
an alien spacecraft and potentially communicating with
extraterrestrial being, I mean, that would have been absolutely and talk about a communication barrier. Imagine trying to decipher an alien language in 1947. No Rosetta Stone for that. But according to these sources, communication was established. And eventually, a deal was struck. The Ebans, EBE-1 species, would be allowed to retrieve the bodies of their fallen comrades from the Roswell crash in exchange for something pretty extraordinary, allowing a team of 12 U.S. military personnel to visit their home planet, Serpo. This exchange program, as it's described in the Project Serpo materials, is fascinating in its detail. The selection process for the team was supposedly incredibly rigorous, involved not just physical and psychological tests, but also an intense training regimen to prepare them for life on an alien world. We're talking years of preparation, learning the Ebans language, adapting to potential environmental challenges, and even undergoing simulations of what they might encounter on Serpo. Yeah, and some of the details about their training are pretty intense, like sheep dipping, where they were supposedly confined in these small, dark spaces for extended periods to test their sensory deprivation tolerance, which is stark contrast to some of the more mundane items that were on their packing list: motorcycles, Jeeps, vinyl records. It makes you wonder, were they expecting like a leisurely road trip across an alien planet?
The inclusion of those items is particularly curious. I mean, it suggests this strange mix of anticipation for the unknown and an attempt to maintain some semblance of normalcy in this utterly alien environment, packing vinyl records for a 10-year mission to another planet. It's a fascinating glimpse, I think, into the human need for familiarity, even in the face of the extraordinary.
But let's not forget the technology that was supposedly involved. Wormholes, antimatter propulsion. Yeah. Sounds like something straight up. Science fiction movie.
That's what makes this story so compelling. Yet it also raises questions about its credibility, while wormholes are a theoretical concept in physics. The energy required to create and stabilize one would be astronomical, far beyond our current capabilities. And antimatter propulsion, while intriguing, is still largely in the realm of speculation. It makes you wonder if these details were intentionally included to make the story more captivating, or if they reflect genuine technological advancements that are being kept secret.
So after years of preparation, the team finally sets off on their mission to Serpo. In July of 1965, they travel on a massive Ebans starship. And according to Olindo, the alleged diary entries, the journey itself was quite an ordeal. Dizziness, nausea, and strange food. That tasted like paper and chalk. Definitely doesn't sound like a luxury cruise.
Those details paint such a vivid picture of the challenges that the team would face during interstellar travel. It really highlights the physical and psychological toll that such a journey would take. Even with advanced alien technology, it humanizes the story, reminding us that even in the face of these extraordinary encounters, we're still bound by our human limitations.
But despite all that, they finally make it to Serpo, a planet in the Zeta Reticuli system. And what they find is, well, Not exactly what you might expect.
It's described as this hot, desert-like place with 2 suns, and they encountered cities. But the architecture was, surprisingly, rudimentary, like adobe huts. And the Ebans themselves, well, they kind of fit that classic alien description. Small, gray, hairless. It's almost as if the story drew inspiration from the popular imagery of extraterrestrials.
At the time, yeah, it really does make you wonder. But the influence of pop culture on these kinds of narratives, did the alleged witnesses shape their accounts to fit these preconceived notions of what aliens should look like? Is there something to this idea that certain physical characteristics are common?
To intelligent life across the universe, it's a question that takes us deep into the realm of speculation.
What I find particularly striking is the description of the Ebans society. They possess this incredibly advanced technology, the ability to travel across galaxies, yet their social structure seemed incredibly regimented, almost simplistic. Everyone wears the same clothes, follows a strict schedule, dictated by a central clock tower, and there's no concept of money or even entertainment as we know it. Yeah, it's a stark contrast to our own society, which values individuality, innovation, and, let's face it, a good dose of chaos. It makes you question what's truly essential for civilization. To thrive, is it technological progress, social harmony, or something else entirely? Perhaps the Ebans have achieved this level of societal balance that we can only dream of, or perhaps their lack of individual expression hints at a darker side to their seemingly utopian existence.
This raises an important question
Yep.
about the Ebans' motivations. Were they truly benevolent in their interactions with the human team as they initially appeared? Or was there a more calculated, perhaps even sinister, agenda at play the diaries describe? The Ebans using the body of one of the deceased team members for cloning and experimentation, which casts a shadow, I think, over their seemingly peaceful intent.
That's where things take a really unsettling turn. It forces us to confront the possibility that even an advanced, seemingly peaceful alien civilization might hold values and practices that we would find deeply disturbing. It challenges our assumptions about what contact with extraterrestrial life might actually entail. Maybe it wouldn't be this grand unifying event we often imagine, but rather a complex and potentially fraught encounter with beings whose ethics and motivations are far different from our own others.
The diaries also describe the presence of other alien creatures being kept in labs and experimented on, almost like a cosmic zoo. It begs the question, what did the Ebans consider ethical, and did their definition align with ours at all? It's a sobering reminder that our human perspective is just that, human. And we can't assume that other intelligent species will share our moral compass.
Absolutely. And there are other unsettling details, too, like the
Yes.
fact that the Ebans seem to view death as a joyous occasion, a liberation of the soul. They even held the ceremony for the deceased team members, which, while fascinating from a cultural standpoint, also raises questions about their understanding and respect for human life. Was it genuine empathy or a calculated attempt to appease the remaining team members?
The team spent 13 years on Serpo, apparently. Their timekeeping was a bit off, studying the planet, its people, and its other inhabitants. They encountered some interesting things, like trees that produce the milk-like substance, and even some dangerous creatures, like a 15-foot snake. It's a strange mix of the mundane and the extraordinary, the familiar and the utterly alien.
It's almost as if the story's trying to balance the fantastical elements with details that ground it in a sense of reality. But even those seemingly mundane details, like encountering a giant snake, take on a different significance where you're talking about
alien one.
It makes you realize how limited our understanding of life beyond Earth really is.
And during those 13 years, 2 more members of the team died, one from an accident and another from pneumonia. It's a stark reminder of the fragility of human life, even in the context of this incredible interstellar journey. And it highlights the cultural differences between humans and the Ebans, particularly their contrasting views on death.
Finally, in 1978, of the original 12 team members returned to Earth, 2 chose to stay on Serpo.
Yeah.
You imagine making that decision. And 2, sadly, didn't make it back. The return of the remaining team members, he's shrouded in secrecy, of course. They were immediately quarantined and debriefed, their lives essentially erased and replaced with new identities. It's the classic government cover-up trope, which, whether true or not, adds another layer of intrigue to the Project Serpo story. Makes you wonder if they were ever really able to reintegrate back into society after having this experience,
Well, yeah, to go from living on an alien planet for over a decade to having your entire identity erased. That must have been incredible difficult.
Yeah. And this is where Richard Doty entered the picture. For those unfamiliar, Doty's his former Air Force intelligence officer who's gained notoriety for spreading disinformation about UFOs. And some believe that he was actually the source of the Project Serpo leaks, possibly as a way to muddle the waters, run UFO sightings, and to discredit the UFO community, a classic disinformation tactic.
Right.
Flood the information landscape with so many outlandish stories that it becomes impossible to separate truth from fiction. So we're left with this puzzle. Is Project Serpo a genuine leak of classified information, a carefully orchestrated disinformation campaign, or perhaps a strange blend of both?
That's the beauty of it, isn't it, Project Serpo? Regardless of its authenticity, it really forces us to grapple with some fundamental questions about our place in the universe, the nature of truth and deception, and the limits of human knowledge. It challenges us to think critically about the information we consume and to question the narratives we're presented with, especially when it comes to something as potentially paradigm-shifting as alien contact.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even in the age of Havron, information overload, we can't take anything at face value. We have to be discerning, consider multiple perspectives, and acknowledge that sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones that leave us with more questions than answers.
And that's where I think the real power of this story lies. It's not just about the possibility of alien contact, but it's about how we, as a society, deal with the unknown, with information that challenges our worldview, and with the possibility that there are forces at play that we may never fully understand. It's a story that invites us to explore the boundaries of our own beliefs and to embrace the mystery that surrounds us.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We delved into the alleged events of Project Serpo, from the Roswell crash to the journey to Serpo, the team's experiences on the planet, and the mystery surrounding their return. We also explored the conflicting evidence, the role of disinformation, and the possibility that the entire story is a carefully constructed fabrication.
Ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide what they believe. But what's important is not just the conclusion we reach, but the process of getting there. The critical thinking, the open-mindedness, and the willingness to engage with ideas that challenge our preconceived notions.
Here's one final thought to leave you with. If Project Serpo did happen, and it's still covering it up, what does that say about our understanding of the universe?
And the power structures that control information. It's a question worth pondering.
It certainly is. It speaks to the possibility that there are layers of reality that we may never be privy to, and that the information we're given is often filtered through a lens of power and control. It's a reminder that we should always be questioning, exploring, and seeking out the truth wherever it may lead. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Project Serpo. It's been a fascinating and perhaps even a little unsettling journey.
Indeed, it's a story that stays with you long after you've heard it, prompting us to look at the world with a renewed sense of wonder and perhaps a healthy dose of skepticism.
Be sure to check out the show notes for links to all the sources we discussed today. And keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those conspiracy theories coming. Until next time, this is CMF Conspiracies, signing off.